Hello,
Hello.
welcome to उतार चढावको रेकर्डिङ स्टुडियो। अनि कस्तो महसुस हुँदैछ त तपाईँले आज यो अवसर पाउनमा?
अलिकति नर्भस छु बट चिनेकै मान्छे भएर सजिलो भइरहेछ ल।
ओके, नर्भस चाहिँ के को बारेमा हुनुहुन्छ?
अब कस्तो कस्तो क्वेसन आउला भनेर होइन। अनि आई थिङ्क द एस्पेक्ट अफ लाइक ओ विल आई बी एबल टु आन्सर द्याट।
सिन्स अलिअलि नर्भसनेस पनि भइरहेको छ, डु यु वान्ट टु स्टार्ट विथ एउटा एक्टिभिटी द्याट वी डिड? यो एक्टिभिटी चाहिँ हामीले अस्ति न हाम्रो इन पर्सन चाहिँ कन्भर्सेसन अबाउट प्लेजर एन्ड इन्सपिरेसनको हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ यो एक्टिभिटी गरेको थियौँ। अनि we want to do the same activity with you as well. I'm going to give you all of these cheats, and you have to pick 5 that you like.
द्याट आई लाइक इट्स
Yeah.
नट अ ब्लाइन्ड त्यो निकाल्नेवाला।
No. You have to pick 5. So हामीले चाहिँ यो चाहिँ actual dating profiles को biosहरूबाट निकालेको हो. So based on the bio, which 5 people would you go on a date with?
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah. So you have about 3-4 minutes for this activity. You can choose.
These are so, like, some of them are okay, some of them are like I've seen this in multiple profiles, especially they're not on my watch wala. I don't even wear a watch. Do. मैले बम्बलमा लेफ्ट राइट स्वाइप गर्दाखेरि नि यस्तै नै हुन्छ है। लाइभ दिइरहेको छु मैले। There's a lot of commentary that goes on into when I swipe left or right, I know. Usually it's it's entertaining one, you know. One time I just wanted to like share this, you know. One time I was like screen record गरिरहेको थिएँ अनि त्यसपछि I was like यसो स्वाइप गरिरहेको थिएँ just like हुन्छ नि ए ओके साथीलाई एन्टरटेनमेन्ट दिउँ भनेर होइन. This person had a scooter के as their picture के स्कुटरको पनि 360 भ्यू के अगाडि पछाडि साइड होइन. इट वाज अ सुजुकीको स्कुटर के.
Okay, maybe they just want to take you on a ride.
त्यो टिँटवाला छ नि. आई थिङ्क द्याट वाज निडेड.
Okay.
CA फाइनल स्टुडेन्ट. ओ माई गड आई जस्ट रियलाइज मैले त्यो क्वर्कीवाला मात्रै छानिरहेको छु के. यसमा चाहिँ प्यार बनाइल की खातिर गरियल भुल गइल.
What does it say?
I haven't dated much in recent year because I've been so focused on my career. Now I'm ready to meet the person who will pull my head out of the books and bring me a bit of happiness. A bit? Okay, scarcity mindset. This is cute. Oh my god, my little चाहिने बढी छाने. एउटा, दुईटा.
You have to stick with 5.
Okay, this is one. Ani, I think this person will be boring. I'm believing the power of. यस्तो मान्छेहरू फेरि क्रिपी हुन्छ कि, so maybe not. 2 toddlers. I feel like this is very generic, but I haven't seen it, so maybe I'm wrong. I don't want a partner in crime. Okay. आफै क्राइम गरेर बसेर आज. Wait. Okay, this is nice. Nomadic journey. I'm sorry. I know you, so I will reject you.
Okay. 5 choose गर्नुभयो. It does not have to be very serious. You're not choosing your partner for life right now.
This is a competition.
Okay. Um, so can you read aloud each one of them and why you selected them?
Okay. First वाला चाहिँ I'm an editorial lifestyle writer, a native New Yorker. I devour books. I'm hyper analytical and widely outspoken. I like to laugh, drink, eat, and geek out. I'm a sea of useless information. I think a sea of useless information is such an apt way to put something, I know, and I feel like I'm the same kind of person. So I think not in a dating wala way, but in a okay, I will vibe with this person भनेर चाहिँ it's a yes for me. अर्को चाहिँ Kathmandu based 6-1 CA final student, collector of moments, not things, lover of adventure, pillow fighter, professional cuddler. I think the professional cuddler drew me in because I was like, oh yes, physical intimacy. भनेर हुन्छ नि. So yeah, त्यो भयो. And अर्को चाहिँ painting materials, a barrel of organic dad jokes, so corny they're almost a vegetable, a whiff of spray paint fumes for the street art vibe no matter where you go, cage free puns, they're I did not read that down. Sandwich aficionado, Picasso of paninis. That's an innuendo right there, I know. But I think because I would want someone to put in as much effort and into their bio because मैले पनि usually whenever I try to write a bio for my dating profile मैले चाहिँ यस्तै यस्तै उटपटाङ कुराहरू चाहिँ सोचेर लेख्छु कि होइन अनि आई रियली हेट पिपल कस्तो बोरिङ एज बायोस् के सरी अनि not giving you a side eye but
Mine was silly, goofy, ultra pro max.
no, that's funny to the right audience,
Yeah.
uncles. No, but like no, that's funny to like Gen Z people, right? But I really don't like when people write too much in their bio too. I mean, this person has written a lot of things, but it's interesting, right? But the other one is like, I'm spiritual. I'm an educator. I've traveled the world, and with my spirituality, I can help you. Come to me, baby girl. Like that's you're going to sell me. No. Anyways, sorry. 2 toddlers, so you know I have patience. 3 tattoos, so you know I'm not afraid of commitment. 4 people using my streaming accounts, so you know I'm generous. I think this is your average person that you find on Discord and they just stumbled onto Tinder and yeah. Yeah. Ani I think this person would be very fun to talk to. But only for like a week, I know. We both ghost each other. I've been on too many dating apps for too long. I'm off them right now. In my celibate era. अर्को चाहिँ I'm a believer in the power of handwritten letters, looking for someone who appreciates the lost art of communication and doesn't mind the occasional love notes. I feel like यस्तो लेख्ने मान्छेहरू are sociopaths. Because they show you off the bat that they're really like, oh my god, nostalgia, look at me, I'm such a lover. They're the ones who will chase you down the road. Ask for your घरको नक्सा just so they can sneak into your house.
Then why did you choose that?
For funsies.
Okay, fair enough. Like that's what you want out of dating.
Or like it's just I think talking to these people is like getting intel, okay, बोल्यो कसरी सोच्दो रहेछ, and when you're bored I think these are the people who are the most interesting.
If you were a dating coach, what kind of advice would you give to the maximum of the people that you did not end up choosing?
I think try to be as original as you can, even if it's like not quirky or funny. You can just be honest, okay? होइन अनि make it short so that the person reading it doesn't feel bored. त्यो चाहिँ भन्छ. अनि not use the generic च्याट जिपिटी एस्क आई बेट च्याट जिपिटी क्यान डु इट बेटर हुन्छ नि टु बी अनेस्ट बट लाइक कस्तो त्यो इट्स लाइक तिमीले एउटा आफ्नो डेटिङ प्रोफाइलमा हाल्छौ यो कुरा एन्ड देयर आर लाइक 10 डिफ्रेन्ट पिपल हु विल पुट द सेम थिङ इन देयर डेटिङ प्रोफाइल सो वाट मेक्स यु डिफ्रेन्ट भनेको जस्तो भयो सो या मेक इट इन्ट्रेस्टिङ मेक इट फन मेक इट scream like you okay I think the most you that यतातिर चाहिँ like आयो भनेपछि चाहिँ the editorial lifestyle writer because it's like okay you're introducing me to yourself होइन oh one thing I think बायोमा चाहिँ something that relates to you होइन so that people can strike up a conversation with you using that okay I think that's really helpful because अब let's say painting materials को कुरा गरेको छ एउटा बायोमा चाहिँ सो आई क्यान बी लाइक ओके डा पेन्टिङ मटेरियल्सको नै कुराहरू हुन्छ नि ओके मेरो पेन्टिङ मटेरियल चाहिँ यस्तो हुन्थ्यो है भनेर वी कुड लाइक स्ट्राइक अप अ कन्भर्सेसन बिकज युजली आइभ नोटिस्ड हाई हेलोमा चाहिँ इट गेट्स ड्राई एन्ड पिपल लाइक फर्गेट लाइक दे गेट बोर्ड इजिली सो अफ द ब्याट नै फन चाहिँ हुनुपर्छ
Okay. Thank you so much for participating. Okay, so there are a few, as a beloved friend of Utar Chadav, you are already introduced to this game. We're not really strangers. XXX edition. Yeah, so there are some questions that you can answer. So we've selected a few of the questions. Ani, some of these are related to sexuality, sexual pleasure. So त्यसको हाराहारीमा चाहिँ बेस्ड भएर चाहिँ यो गेम पनि हामीले अस्ति न चाहिँ खेलेको थियौँ. So we could do a couple of these. Ani, if a conversation or something that you want to talk more about comes out of this, then we can head towards that.
Yeah, sure. धन्यवाद यो सबै आन्सर गर्नु
That's up to you.
Okay. How do you define great sex? Get specific. I think great sex would be both of you having fun together, होइन अनि my definition of fun was mostly just laughing together अनि having fun that I realized that. Okay, so the question is, how do you define great sex? Get specific. I think for me चाहिँ पहिला sex को definition or like good sex को definition was having fun together, laughing अनि just enjoying your time together. तर with more experiences I've realized that अलिकति being अलिकति intense हुन्छ नि अब let's say I realized that vanilla or like the vanilla भन्दाखेरि पनि एकदमै even rough sex पनि के होइन becomes boring at one point के हुन्छ नि it's the if you are not introducing new things while you are being intimate होइन I feel like त्यो what's that word
Monotonous.
it becomes monotonous नै के I thought that I knew I was very anti vanilla हुन्छ नि त्यो okay भनेर of course it has its perks पनि नि I enjoy it sometimes but even rough sex पनि के अरे continuously नै त्यही नै गरिरहेपछि it gets boring रहेछ and it's like what am I doing जस्तो के होइन at one point चाहिँ I was के अरे having intimacy त्यसै गरेर नै and then at one point चाहिँ it became too redundant के and I was like what does sex mean to me होइन अनि why is it so not interesting भनेर अनि I realized that त्यति बेला चाहिँ a lot of त्यो लाइक हुन्छ नि अब outright kinky धेरै overly kinky पनि हुनु पर्दैन होइन however like हुन्छ नि introducing some other stuff के doing different things होइन not doing the usual whatever you do हुन्छ नि introducing new stuff चाहिँ is more interesting रहेछ के even while like you are sexting हुन्छ नि अब doing different role playsहरू भयो हुन्छ नि or के अरे अब maybe introducing like food or के भन्छ अरे रूप्सहरू भयो and everything हुन्छ नि त्यसको idea नै so appealing के rather than just going and just having sex मात्रै के होइन अनि आई थिङ्क ग्रेट सेक्स इज फर मी चाहिँ इज exploring new things together. Yes. Okay. So, maturing sexually is realizing that penetration मात्रै sex चाहिँ होइन. That usually सेक्सको डेफिनेसन नै अब ओके पेनिट्रेसन नै हो भनेर अब वाइड स्प्रेड इट इज द स्टेटसको नि त होइन तर आई रियलाइज द्याट इज नट दि ओन्ली एस्पेक्ट अफ सेक्स के देयर इज सो मच मोर हुन्छ नि फोर प्ले भयो हुन्छ नि एन्ड देन के अरे जस्ट द मोमेन्ट्स अर लाइक द इन्भाइरोमेन्ट द्याट यु मेक बिफोर इट ह्यापन्स हुन्छ नि एन्ड देन इभन डुइङ लाइक अब लेट्स से अलिकति किङ्की एक्टिभिटिजहरू द्याट क्यान अल्सो काउन्ट एज सेक्स के बिकज I think with one of my relationships, we rarely had penetrative sex, होइन तर we did have sex के because the intimacy भयो the हुन्छ नि the way we were enjoying ourselves हुन्छ नि that felt very नै sexual हुन्छ नि that felt like sex नै के होइन अनि त्यो पेनिट्रेसन नगरेर चाहिँ त्यो कमी चाहिँ कहिले पनि फिल भएन कि that oh we should have done this भनेर चाहिँ or like even orgasming के हुन्छ नि sometimes you can just enjoy the moment के of course orgasms are important तर your end goal should not always be an orgasm के it is about के अरे के भन्छ इन्भाइरोमेन्ट बनाउने you enjoy each other हुन्छ नि and then you get pleasure out of it के that's it नै त्यस्तो गरेर चाहिँ भयो अर्को चाहिँ what is your sexual love language okay oh I think biting द्याट्स भेरी त्यो तर अब अगेन इट इज सेक्सुअल पनि इट्स प्लोटोनिक पनि हुन्छ नि अब इफ आई एम ह्याभिङ इन्टरकोर्स अर लाइक इन्टिमेसी विथ अ पर्सन बाइटिङ देन बिकम्स अलिकति मोर सेक्सुअल हुन्छ नि अलिकति मोर के अरे ओ आई विल डु दिस टु यु भन्नेवाला तर इन अ प्लोटोनिक वेमा पनि आई इन्जोय बाइटिङ पिपल हुन्छ नि त्यो इट इज अ माई वे अफ सोइङ लभ जस्तो भनौँ न होइन सो इट्स बोथ त्यो गरेर चाहिँ अनि हेज योर सेक्सुअलिटी इभल्भ ओभर टाइम हाउ सो कुन वेमा एन्सर गर्ने यो चाहिँ मेरो दिमागै चल्ने यसमा
Okay, you don't have to answer all of the questions you come across. जुनमा चाहिँ ठ्याक्क फ्याट्ट दिमागमा आउँछ anything that you want to share? There are more if you want.
oh what's one subtle thing you do when you really like someone okay I think one subtle thing that I do is I hover around that person a lot or like म कस्तो त्यो ए हुन्छ नि भइहाल्छ नि भन्नेवाला टाइपले हुन्छ नि गर्छु I think so.
Could you explain that a bit?
Usually whenever I interact with people it's not that म एउटा पर्टिकुलर टोन अफ भोइसमा बोल्छु होइन अनि एउटा इभन विथ स्ट्रेन्जर्स पनि इभन दो आइम लाइक पोलाइट हुन्छ नि त्यो पोलाइट टोन मात्रै हुन्छ कि बट आई थिङ्क विथ वेन एभर आई लाइक समन आई टक इन हल्का बेबी भोइस के हुन्छ नि अनि हुन्छ भइहाल्छ नि भनेर होइन अब विथ लाइक हुन्छ नि अगेन के इट डजन्ट एक्जिस्ट इन अ भ्याक्युम बिकज आई युज द्याट भोइस विथ अडल्ट्सहरू पनि होइन तर अब समन आई लाइक हुन्छ नि अर लाइक के अरे त्यो पर्सन अफ माई एज उनीहरूसँग चाहिँ अब आई रेयरली अब आई हेभ टु बी एकदमै नै क्लोज हुन्छ नि अर लाइक टु फिल सेफ भएर चाहिँ त्यो भोइस युज गर्छु कहिलेकाहीँ तर आई थिङ्क वेन इट्स समन आई लाइक त्यति बेला चाहिँ अलिकति फोर फ्रन्टमा चाहिँ आउँछ त्योवाला एस्पेक्ट चाहिँ यस वाट इज एन अनपपुलर ओपिनियन आई हेभ अबाउट सेक्स आई फिल लाइक सेक्स भन्दाखेरि पनि आई वान्ट टु रिवर्ड दिस क्वेसन होइन आई थिङ्क
You can reword it to any way that it makes sense for you, or any way that can bring pleasure, inspiration into the conversation.
I think this is not particularly an unpopular opinion होइन तर अब the way अब let's say BDSM has been viewed by the public and it's very sexualized होइन तर I feel like for me चाहिँ BDSM doing kinky stuff is not always sexual, होइन. That pleasure doesn't always have to necessarily be sexual के. It can be related to catharsis पनि भयो होइन, ease भयो, the comfortableness हुन्छ नि, त्यसमा पनि हामीले pleasure के अरे त्यहाँबाट पनि प्लेजर लिन मिल्छ नि त होइन. सो अब लाइक स्टफ हुन्छ नि, अब लेट्स नामै दिँदाखेरि चाहिँ लेट्स अब सिबारी गर्दाखेरि or लाइक बन्डेज गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ इट्स नट अलवेज सेक्सुअल के होइन. देयर त्यो सधैँ त्यो bodily fluids or लाइक वाट एभर हुन्छ नि. अब एक्टिभिटिज द्याट वी रियली रिलेट टु सेक्स हुन्छ नि, त्यो चाहिँ धेरै हुँदैन. बट इट्स स्टिल सो प्लेजरेबल. The atmosphere is so intimate, होइन. And people are getting that pleasure from the bondage नि त होइन. अनि त्यसले गरेर पनि I think it's so much beyond that जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई चाहिँ. Yes. Name one thing better, all players, name one thing better than sex. Food. Or like hanging out with loved ones. I think it is, while as a person who feels sexual attraction, I know it is a need bela belama, or like sometimes it feels like a necessity पनि होइन for myself. तर I realized that मैले कति नोटिस गरेको that अब yeah, like something I've realized is that whenever like beachमा चाहिँ I used to be like there were days where I was like I need to have sex, or like I need to have that physical intimacy, or I'll go crazy भनेर. तर then I went to meet my friends अनि I got the dopamine, होइन. I got that love, that intimacy नै भनौँ न. अनि of course some days त त्यसले पनि हुँदैन, तर on most days चाहिँ like just sitting with your loved ones or like enjoying time together, laughing नै भनौँ न होइन. That really घर फर्केर आउँदाखेरि चाहिँ like I don't really want sex, it's okay, I can live without it भन्नेवाला एस्पेक्ट चाहिँ धेरै नै नोटिस चाहिँ गरेँ मैले. Yes. I love you. Thank you.
We don't know who that was to, but sure.
For you. This is consensual. This is my friend.
No, I've never spoken to this person before. You interview my first time भेटेको.
यो रुमबाट बाहिर निस्केपछि यसले भेट्छ मेरो हात. Sorry, we don't condone violence. Okay, when do you feel your sexiest? Whenever, like, it's not like हुन्छ नि, sometimes I just wake up and I'm like I'm gonna look sexy today भनेर हुन्छ नि. And then त्यसपछि त्यो आफै आउँदो रहेछ कि होइन मलाई चाहिँ बेला बेलामा होइन. अनि अरू बेलामा चाहिँ whenever like the clothes are clothing, the makeup is makeuping होइन. And त्यति बेला पनि it's like you're already feeling that, you're looking that, and it's like म अब पानीमा हिँड्छु.
Okay, Jesus.
अनि त्यस्तो हुन्छ के अरे. and like other daysमा चाहिँ even when I'm wearing an outfit हुन्छ नि, if I don't feel it from within होइन, I'm like म के गरेर भनेको जस्तो हुन्छ. Yeah. What turns you off that other people seem to love? मेरो दिमागमा अहिले आएको छैन. I will return back to this question. Oh my god, what is the most surprising thing you've been asked to do in bed? Did you do it? TMI, TW, bodily excretions. So one day a person approached me via message अनि मलाई भनेको थियो that they would pay me if I shat in their mouth and made them lick off or like force feed them poop kernels. And I was like, huh? रेगा थापा? अनि then के भयो भनेपछि चाहिँ त्यो भएर I was like, is that not unhealthy भने मैले होइन. अनि उसले चाहिँ yeah, my partner did that to me. म त फेरि भने रेखा थापा. And then I was so shocked because, of course, I know people have scat kink going on, but I did not know they had a kink so passionate, I know. And then especially, I was like, I'm so sorry. What if you die? I know. I'm not that averse to like bodily fluids, to be honest, or like the घिन लाग्दैन मलाई, you know. So I was like, yeah, whatever भनेर. तर the idea didn't like really surprise me, to be honest. Like surprise and disgust me हुन्छ नि. It did surprise me. तर I was like, you, what if you die? And so I did not want to be liable for that, so I said, no, thank you, thank you. Okay. In your wildest fantasy, who would you be with? Where would you be? And would you be doing? Okay. मेरो दिमागमा चाहिँ एउटा I feel like beach एरियातिर होइन, where like you can see the sea, you can see the blue sky, होइन. And then there's I wouldn't say a bungalow, but like a spacious house where there are like different things भनौँ न, अनि अब fun activities गर्ने थिङ्सहरू भयो. And then I think who would you be with चाहिँ पर्टिकुलर मान्छेको नाम त आएको छैन होइन. So maybe there is yet a person to arrive in my life, but I hope it's a woman. Thank you. Okay. Social norms aside, what would your ideal relationship look like? मैले यसको आन्सर गरेको थिएँ अस्ति, तर मैले बिर्सेँ मेरो आन्सर. सो दिस इज अ भेरी स्कफ्ड पिस अफ आन्सर हुन्छ नि. आई थिङ्क फर मी चाहिँ एन आइडियल रिलेसनसिप वुड बी me and my partner being on the same page. Where no, मैले ठ्याक्कै के सोचेको थिएँ. Oh yes, I remember my answer, sorry. I think where there is no status quo about how we express ourselves, that my partner gets the liberty to express their masculinity, their femininity हुन्छ नि, the way they want outside of the bedroom पनि के. Because let's say if my partner is an AMAB, if my partner is an AMAB होइन, अनि के अरे त्यो भएपछि the society of course wants this person to dress masculine, act masculine होइन. अनि of course in most के अरे यस्तो केसेसहरू maybe they want to act more feminine हुन्छ नि. अनि that is usually done inside the bedroom नि त होइन. तर I think social norms aside भएपछि चाहिँ I would want my partner to be able to express that even outside पनि के होइन, that उसको expression चाहिँ room भित्र confine चाहिँ नहोस् भनेर, and for me to be able to do the same नै. Yeah. Oh, has someone's energy ever turned you on even if they weren't your physical? Yes, definitely नै हुन्छ नि त्यो the enthusiasm or like the knowledge that people have हुन्छ नि. I think त्यसले पनि a lot of times say it really, it's like, oh wow, that is so interesting, that is so हुन्छ नि, I can learn so much from you भन्नेवाला एस्पेक्टले पनि एकदमै त्यो टर्न अन चाहिँ गरेको छ, even if they are not त्यो हुन्छ नि. Yes, as the question said, my physical type. Why am I whispering बेला बेलामा? Okay. Okay, what's your favorite part of your body? Permission to brag. My tits, thank you. And I think I would say my lips too. My tits are like very nice lips, thank you. त्यही मात्रै हो, my tits and my lips. जय शम्भो. अनि अरू क्वेसन छ?
So, like, would you like to talk something more on pleasure, on inspiration, or we can continue with the card game? What are things that you wish people would understand more about being inspired or um, having the pleasures of life, and how that in turn um, makes things easier for you to be inspired by? Or for you, are pleasure and inspiration different things, or do they come one after the other, or do they come together?
Okay. I think inspiration pleasure चाहिँ come hand in hand है होइन, तर sometimes one works faster than the other जस्तो हुन्छ नि. It's not a fixed linear timeline जस्तो. Sometimes हुन्छ नि, most of the time they are together, but sometimes they go their own roads जस्तो भनौँ न होइन. Yeah, for me चाहिँ त्यो अहिले inspiration in what sense चाहिँ inspired चाहिँ केले हुने, to attain pleasure
That
कि
can be totally up to you. For some folks have answered this in the sense where when they are inspired by something, then whatever they do feels pleasurable. Or when they derive pleasure from something, it can be just like eating something, and are like, wow, I'm having a good time. And त्यसपछि चाहिँ inspiration also to do something, or inspiration to move forward in life. And some people look at inspiration and pleasure as the same thing, while some people think one cannot exist without the other. Some people are like, inspiration भएर काम गर्दाखेरि पनि, if it's something that they're doing, something that they're making, sometimes the act itself might not provide pleasure. So it can be as separate, or it can be as united. Yeah.
I think whatever I answered before हुन्छ नि, I think it holds ground नै होइन, in a sense that त्यही त्यो तपाईँले भनेको जस्तै होइन के अरे लाइक त्यही के इन्सपायर भएर चाहिँ देन यु डिराइभ प्लेजर, लाइक प्लेजरबाट नै यु डिराइभ इन्सपिरेसन अबाउट सर्टन थिङ्स हुन्छ नि. द्याट को एक्सिस्ट, बट लाइक त्यही के ठ्याक्कै एज यु सेड नै मैले पनि त्यही सोचिरहेको थिएँ कि लाइक आई एम इन्सपायर्ड बाई सो मेनी थिङ्स, बट डु आई अलवेज gain pleasure from that activity? Most of the time no, because it's very hard to do activities हुन्छ नि and then not get frustrated के होइन. अनि even त्यो pleasure आए पनि it's very in halves, or like not त्यो pleasurable feeling नै त्यो अब जस्तै हामीले इमेजिन गर्छौँ नि होइन, त्यस्तो चाहिँ हुँदैन. सो लाइक त्यही समटाइम्स मोस्ट अफ द टाइम दे आर लाइक म्युचुअली एक्सक्लुसिभ, हाउ एभर द अदर टाइम्स दे क्यान एक्जिस्ट अन देयर ओन नै, बिकज समटाइम्स यु आर इन द जोन एन्ड यु जस्ट फिल प्लेजर एन्ड द्याट्स इट. यु डोन्ट नेसेसरली ह्याभ टु बी पुरै त्यो लाइक प्लेटोले सोचेको जस्तो, लाइक एरिस्टोटलले सोचेको जस्तो मान्छे हुन्छ लाइक दिस हेज इन्सपायर्ड मी टु डु समथिङ भनेर हुन्छ नि. यु क्यान जस्ट एक्जिस्ट विदिन द एक्ट एन्ड जस्ट इन्जोय इट के.
How would you say, is it possible to center inspiration, center pleasure in our life, and do things as, making them as important aspects? Because I think the world we live in right now um, does not care as much for pleasure and inspiration as it does for output, monetary value, for quote unquote productivity and efficiency. But so in a life where we're expected to center the output that we produce, may it be in terms of how we're living, may it could be in terms of economy, it could be in terms of even sexual pleasure, and thinking that no, it's just for reproduction and producing children and creating families, which will create a society which is value is to produce economy. So in a life where we're expected to live that way, how do you think is it possible for us in our everyday lives to center pleasure and inspiration?
I think one of the ways that I think it can be combated is unlearning shame, in a sense that there's a lot of shame associated with taking pleasure नै के, like or like shame or guilt नै के हुन्छ नि, like am I अब कि त first of all त am I doing it right भनेर हुन्छ नि, is this pleasure नै भनेर त्यो क्वेसन्सहरू हुन्छ. And then like मेरो यति धेरै लाइक हुन्छ नि त्यो प्रोडक्टिभिटीमा लिङ्क गर्दा मेरो यति धेरै काम छ, हियर आई एम टेकिङ प्लेजर, त्यसको गिल्ट हुन्छ नि, आई कुड बी डुइङ सो मच मोर हुन्छ नि. एन्ड देन त्यसपछि त्यही त्यो ओ आई सुड नट बी अ हिडेनिस्ट बिकज द्याट इज भेरी सेमफुल, द्याट इज भेरी सिनफुल भनेर होइन. सो अनलर्निङ द्याट चाहिँ आई थिङ्क विल let you let in pleasure or like inspiration more with open arms के. Because अब के अरे pleasure र inspirationले ढकढकाइरहेको छ होइन. And if you're not ready to open the door नै, or like if you are not के अरे अब pushing yourself हुन्छ नि to open that door होइन, how will they come in नै के होइन. अनि I think the other अलिकति more like maybe this might not be just conventional either. I think getting excited about things. Yeah. I think I've had this conversation with a lot of people these days. मैले चाहिँ के भनेको थिएँ भनेपछि चाहिँ I was asking my friends this question के, like what is happiness to you भनेर होइन. अनि उनीहरूले answer दियो and my answer was like happiness is excitement for me because I realized I get excited over so many things, होइन. And once I started linking it with happiness, it made my days more joyful, okay? It made my outlook in life on and the way I perceive things is so much more lighter and joyful, which in turn I feel like helped me take in or like invite pleasure and inspiration more often. भनेर चाहिँ. So like maybe I think unlearning shame, unlearning guilt हुन्छ नि, and letting yourself be excited पनि can go hand in hand हुन्छ नि. Because I feel like यो excitement वाला bit त कति पछि आएको हो नि त, कति unlearning गरेर होइन, कति no I get to experience joy, I don't have to work for it to experience joy, pleasure हुन्छ नि. And then त्यो a lot of unlearning नै आएको हो. But yeah, त्यो mostly चाहिँ centering excitement के. I feel like त्यो centering excitement, curiosity भएपछि चाहिँ it gives a certain pathway to pleasure and inspiration to just come to you and you figure out. It's up to you नै हुन्छ नि how to navigate सबै कुराहरू भनेर. तर mostly चाहिँ letting yourself be curious, letting yourself be excited about things. त्यो गरेर चाहिँ
I definitely resonate with what you're saying. Ani, shame is such a big part. It plays such a part in us facing resistance towards, just everyday joys of life, because there's always that voice saying, no, things should be like this, or you should be doing this instead of this.
or just like के अरे are you allowed to do that भनेर. Yeah, it's the am I allowed or like have I मैले यति गरेँ हुन्छ नगरेसम्म चाहिँ I'm
Have I
not allowed to
accomplished
do that
enough?
भनेर. Yeah. Or like have I done enough, simply नै के accomplish भन्दाखेरि like have I done enough for me to, yeah, त्यो गरेर चाहिँ a lot of times त्यही के अरे whenever I tell my friends or like whenever I'm talking about यस्तै कुराहरू हुन्छ नि, especially in terms of love, it's like to love, let in, you have to believe in love पनि के हुन्छ नि. Where am I going with this? It made sense in my head, but I was like मैले बोलेर के बोलिस् भनेर भयो के. But I think त्यही त्यो letting love in हुन्छ नि, or like the understanding that you do get to deserve it, you do get to like हुन्छ नि believe in it होइन. अनि believing that you're allowed to do something, believing that you're allowed to get excited, that really helps letting in whatever you are trying to let in के. त्यो गरेर चाहिँ त्यो believing is the most, I think one of the hardest things that you can do होइन. तर I feel like from my lived experience चाहिँ once you do get past that believing stage होइन, nothing can stop you जस्तो के. Of course that is not, it doesn't exist in an absolute where you'll हुन्छ नि never have a bad day in your life or like हुन्छ नि त्यो गरेर, because those emotions are natural होइन. तर once you cross that stage of like okay I get to believe that or I believe in this भनेर होइन, things become so much easier okay, they come to you easier. And I feel like it builds your capacity त्यो धक्का लिने क्यापेसिटी पनि बढाइदिन्छ के वेयर द ओसन द्याट यु थट यु वर ड्राउनिङ इन इज लाइक अहिले चाहिँ 5 फिटको पुल के यु स्टिल ड्राउनिङ यस होइन अनि मोमेन्टेरिली लाइक कहिले बाहिर निस्केला कहिले भित्र फेरि आउला होइन तर देयर इज दिस बिलिभ द्याट ओके आई विल नट ड्राउन लाइक आई डिड बिफोर भन्नेवाला के हुन्छ नि अनि आई थिङ्क द्याट इज रियली इम्पोर्टेन्ट जस्ट बिलिभिङ ह्याभिङ होप नै के द्याट इज सो कस्तो ऱ्याडिकलै लाग्छ क्या मलाई चाहिँ टु बी अनेस्ट
I have a follow-up question to whatever you just said, which I also resonate a lot with. um, when you're saying that all of these thoughts are so radical, and these are some ways that we could center ourselves in our life more, center our own experiences. What do you think that says about the hopes and intentions we have towards the world? So, okay, let me rephrase that. Um, when we're saying that these are things that we want to do, what kind of hopes or expectations do we have for the world and from the world? Or like यस्तो खालको ठाउँ भइदिए हुन्थ्यो जीवन चाहिँ, or यस्तो कुराहरू गर्न पाइदिए हुन्थ्यो, यस्तो कुराहरूलाई चाहिँ मैले इम्पोर्टेन्स दिन्छु, or like when you're saying all of these things, what are your hopes and intentions behind them, or what does it show that is important to you, Bonira?
I think whenever I say हुन्छ नि dare to hope or like just हुन्छ नि के अरे namaste okay so whenever I say त्यही के अरे you have to hope, you have to believe भनेर हुन्छ नि it is a way of me also त्यो telling myself that I have to do that because again the world is not a very nice place and then I think for me an ideal world would be very communal, very very yes individuality, yes collectivism but both existing in the same sphere where you get to be your individual self while also getting so much access to communal care पनि भनेर हैन अनि I think I like one of the ways that I have been doing that is being there for people हैन even if I don't like them हैन it's like के अरे त्यो because community is for everyone नि त regardless if they are the best people or the worst people हैन because everyone deserves community, everyone deserves that love हैन and I think one of the ways I am doing that is through मेरो loved ones like leaning on to my loved ones, being there for them हुन्छ नि अनि having these conversations के हैन like how do we see the world भनेर अनि it's so hard to get एकदमै नै like whirlpool जस्तो तान्छ bad experienceहरू or like bad newsहरूबाट हैन तर talking with friends हुन्छ नि and just like having a group of people who think very similar to you, hope very similar to you हैन and I think that makes it अलिकति more okay maybe I can do this भनेर के अनि I think we can definitely नै हुन्छ नि बिस्तारै बिस्तारै so you have to believe in it and you have to make other people believe in it and त्यो भएपछि चाहिँ it's like it's easier to be hopeful के हुन्छ नि so I would want a world where there is an abundance of hope or like हुन्छ नि that it is so beautiful that one doesn't have to constantly rely on hope for it to be better के हुन्छ नि that you can just exist matrai and not try so hard to imagine a future where everything is beautiful भनेर मलाई चाहिँ
Yeah, that's
yes
that's such a wonderful thing that you just said. It's yeah. I'm also looking at the clock since you said you don't have much time to give us at this minute. No, we're still very grateful for the time that you've given us. So before we part ways, is there anything that you'd like to say, or that you think that hasn't been said today, or just a message that you'd like to leave to us, to the world, to yourself?
um There was a एकदमै राम्रो thing that my friend said होइन once. हामी पिङमा बसिरहेको थियौँ अनि एकदमै एकदमै प्रिय क्याफेमा आजा क्याफे बसिराख्दाखेरि चाहिँ उसले मलाई भनेको थियो द्याट ओ यु हेभ टु डेयर टु इमेजिन अ फ्युचर फर यु टु एक्चुली लिभ इन इट भनेर होइन. सो आई दर्शकबिनलाई चाहिँ के भन्न चाहन्छु भनेपछि प्लिज होप राख्नु होला द्याट अल इज नट डेड हुन्छ नि. डोन्ट गिभ इन टु द एकदमै नै त्यो डुम न्यारेटिभ नै. बिकज एज लङ एज पिपल एक्जिस्ट, एज लङ एज पिपल लाइक अस एक्जिस्ट होइन, वी क्यान डेफिनेटली नै ड्रिम फर अ बेटर प्लेस के. द्याट yes, bad people exist, but so do good people, and so do people who want a good world. Okay, and I believe in that. And even if it's like stupid, you know, be stupid and believe in that. Okay, there's no shame in being stupid for stupidly wanting to believe in a better world. You don't have to always be realistic on Sunny or like facts. Like is the one that's about Earth. It's like at least we'll, even if ude pani will die with a very hopeful imagination भनेर. Don't let go of that. अनि I think त्यो pleasure and especially talking about sex, sexuality, it goes beyond so many things के. त्यो एउटा particular boxमा मात्रै होइन. अघि नै हामीले भनेको जस्तै अब कन्भर्सेसन्सहरूमा चाहिँ sex is not only intercourse हुन्छ नि, sex is so much more than that, intimacy is so much more than that होइन. And then like I think sexualityको चाहिँ त्यस्तो धेरै कुरा भएन, but again I feel like sexuality just being confined to sex matrai is something that we should really stop doing हुन्छ नि. Because for a lot of people your sexuality only exists after you have had sexual intercourse हुन्छ नि. अब okay, that fits the criteria of that sexuality, but there is an existence of asexual people, aromantic people, or people who just simply haven't done that हुन्छ नि. And shaming them for or like questioning मान्छेहरूको sexuality is कस्तो counterintuitive, because people have fought for their rights हुन्छ नि. We are here because so many people wanted to live their life and हुन्छ नि के अरे claim their sexuality and be proud of it, and we've come so far only to fall into that same circle of questioning हुन्छ नि. Like as like हुन्छ नि queer community मा you के अरे हुन्छ नि, people, so many people talk about community त्यो गरे, तर हुन्छ नि अब a group of people deciding that okay, just because you haven't had this experience त्यो गरेर चाहिँ that just automatically invalidates your sexuality नै भनेर. Because sexuality भयो, gender भयो, it is something आफूभित्र थाहा पाउने हो नि त होइन, कि त एक्सपिरियन्स गरेर कि त त्यो गरेर. It is mostly a process that goes on inside of you, and I personally don't think that you have to prove to people that you are this भनेर. You get to be whatever you want के होइन. अनि policing people, doing that कस्तो त्यो inherently त्यो queerness को definition नै हुन्छ नि, or के अरे त्यो उदुल पुदुल गरेको जस्तो कि. Because being queer is being not being bound by your limits नै के. Being queer is going out of the limit, exploring हुन्छ नि. अनि why are we shaming people who are outside of the box? Why are we shaming people who are inside of the box? Why is there so much shaming नै के होइन. Why can't we just take त्यो exist as we are नै, exist as like हुन्छ नि whatever we choose to be. Yes, thank you. त्यही हो.
Thank you so much for giving us your time, your energy, your wise thoughts today. This has been your local podcast host, and we are Utar Chadav. Thank you so much.
Follow Utar Chadav, please. And please come to Aja Cafe because there are a lot of good food and good conversations.